Day is truly a day that we will mark in history. I want to give you a brief introduction to emancipation. First, my name is Khalif Truth Seeker. Born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island, under the government name, under the slave name of Tim De Britto. As I begin, these phones, quick intro into emancipation history. The newly celebrated Emancipation Day is Juneteenth, that we celebrated on June 19th. It originated in Galveston, Texas on June 19th, 1865. It's a celebration of emancipation of those who had been enslaved in America. The tradition of making an end of slavery, of the tradition that they brought forth. It celebrates as early as 1863. Emancipation Proclamation was signed on that day. The earliest celebration of emancipation dates back to when slavery was finally abolished throughout the British Empire by Slavery Abolition Act, which came into effect on August 1st, 1834. Each year on August 1st, the major Emancipation Day celebrations were organized across the West Indies and within American cities with free African heritage populations. Rhode Island cities of Providence and Newport were early sites for major Emancipation Day celebrations and festivities through the 19th and into the 20th centuries. Again, I want to say thank you for coming out and making this day very important to our people. As I will pass this over to a brother that will carry us through the entire program. He will be our MC for the program. His name is Jermaine Whitehead. Thank you.
Of the video. Wow.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I said, what's going on, Providence, Rhode Island? Let's give a round of applause for Emancipation Day 2020. Oh, you can do louder than that, Providence. Now. Oh, now. You guys do louder than that. Again, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? My name is Jermaine Whitehead Bailey. And I want to welcome you to Emancipation Day 2020. I want to first extend my sincere thank you to Mayor Jorge Elorza, along with Khalif and his staff, for having me here today as your host and MC. So let's give a big round of hands for Khalif, Mayor Elorza in his office, Sean Dell, Rice Bernie. Thank you guys sincerely for having me out here today. Moving on. I'm going to talk a little about myself for a minute. And you guys know me already? All right. We're about to. So a little about myself. First and foremost, I am a direct-born Providence, Rhode Island native. I can happily say that I was born and raised here. My background, I am an actor-producer with various different credits to my name, professional credits to my name. I'm currently working on the film locally here in Providence called Hurt. So be on the lookout for that. It was on Amazon and some other platforms. Any other platforms. I know everybody's going to kill me for that. And that's a feature film. Hurt. It's being produced by a local Providence director, Mr. Vega Martinez. So look out for that film towards the end of 2020. Without further ado, let's move forward. Excuse me a minute. First up to speak. Can I get a round of applause, Rhode Island, for Mr. Keith Stokes?
tell you what an honor and privilege it is for me to be here before you today to talk for about 300 years of history in 5 minutes. But very important history. In history, unfortunately, that we don't tell enough in our own Rhode Island schools, in our own communities. Because it's a history of us, it's a history of African heritage people. But let me begin with, I hope, the most important statement that I offer you today, that I hope each and every one of you remember today. Slavery is not black history. Let me say it again. Slavery is not black history. Black history is our African heritage ancestors that survived and thrived despite slavery. The entire intent and purpose of Emancipation Day, Juneteenth, is to recognize those African heritage men, women, and children who survived and thrived despite enslavement. Those same African heritage people who were taken largely from what is today Ghana, Nigeria, Guinea, would somehow survive the transport of the Middle Passage to land on the sugar plantations of Barbados and Jamaica. The same African heritage people that would land in continental America and they'd be working on the tobacco fields of Virginia, or the cotton plantations of Mississippi or Alabama, or the urban seaports of Providence, Bristol, and Newport, Rhode Island. Those 10 million African heritage men, women, and children, we stand on their shoulders today. And Emancipation Day is to celebrate and recognize and remember those 10 million souls. It is a story of African perseverance. It's a story of African history and heritage. It is our story, no one else's. And we have the absolute obligation today in 2020 to pass that story on to the next generation of African heritage people. And who are the African heritage people? It's all of us. Biracial, multiracial, Cape Verdean, Native, Latino. We all share an African heritage. And it's absolutely essential that we recognize going forward that we have an opportunity more than any other state in the country to share this information, because Rhode Island, not only being the smallest state, had some of the most significant earliest African heritage institutions established. The first free African benevolent society in the Western Hemisphere begins in Newport and Providence in 1780 and 1787. Why do we know this? Because we still have the organizational documents, the meeting minutes, and letters and diaries from those African heritage people, not African Americans, but African heritage people who originated in the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria, the Fanti and Ashanti people of today's Ghana. We have those records, we have those information, and they talked freely about their lives living in Providence in 1785 and 1790. And in fact, one of the first free black churches in America. Today we recognize it as Cogden Street Baptist Church. How many people know of Cogden Street Baptist Church on Cogden Street in the east side of Providence? That is the second building, but the congregation itself was established way back in 1819. It evolved from the Providence Free African Benevolent Society. We know this because we know the men and women that founded that society, with names like Caesar Bonner, Alfred Niger, Ichabod Northrop, and George Willis. And those same men, after establishing the church, would establish the second free Masonic African order after Boston, called the Harmony Lodge, which still exists today on Eddy Street. And those same men and women would build one of the earliest free African communities, which was called Hardscrabble, located today at the south lawn of the State House and adjacent to the main entrance to the train station. In 1824, whites dismantled, riot, burned, and dislocated the Hardscrabble community. But we rebuilt it. It moved a tad up the street, a little bit where the Providence Marriott is, moving towards North Main Street, and was called Snowtown. And again,